Academic publishing serves as the cornerstone of scientific communication. Through journal publications, researchers share their findings with the global academic community, contributing to the cumulative advancement of knowledge. A published article not only establishes the credibility of the researcher, but also provides a permanent record of their work, allowing others to reference, replicate, and build upon it. In academic and research careers, journal publications are often used as benchmarks for performance evaluations, funding approvals, promotions, and institutional rankings. There are three major types of journals: open access, subscription-based, and hybrid. Open access journals make all their content freely available to readers without charging subscription fees. In this model, the cost of publishing is typically borne by the authors or their institutions through article processing charges, APCs. Open access journals aim to democratize knowledge by removing paywalls, thereby increasing the visibility and citation potential of published work. However, authors must be cautious of predatory journals that exploit this model without providing rigorous peer review or editorial oversight. Subscription-based journals are traditional publishing models where access to the content is restricted to subscribers or institutions that pay a fee. These journals are often associated with long-standing publishers and are perceived to have high editorial standards. While authors do not usually pay to publish, their work may have limited reach due to restricted access. Despite this limitation, many subscription-based journals still carry high prestige and strong reputations in academic circles. Hybrid journals offer a combination of both models. Authors can choose to publish their work as open access by paying an APC or allow it to remain behind a paywall as part of the journal's regular subscription content. This flexibility enables authors to decide based on funding availability or institutional policies. To evaluate the quality and reach of journals, researchers often consider the impact factor, a metric published annually by Clarivate's Journal Citation Reports. The impact factor is calculated by averaging the number of citations received by articles published in a journal over a 2-year period. While it serves as a useful indicator of a journal's influence, it is not the sole measure of quality. Other metrics, such as the H-index, CiteScore, and SCI-MAGO Journal Rank, SJR, provide complementary insights. It is essential to interpret these rankings in context, considering factors such as field-specific citation practices and the nature of the research. Journals with high impact factors typically have more rigorous peer review processes and receive broader readership, making them desirable publication venues. However, publishing in lower impact or niche journals can also be valuable, especially when targeting a specific audience or selecting the right journal. Choosing the appropriate journal is a critical step in the publication process. A well-matched journal increases the chances of acceptance and ensures the research reaches its intended audience. The first step is to analyze the scope and focus of potential journals. Every journal outlines its aims and scope on its website, describing the topics it covers, the types of articles it accepts, original research, reviews, case studies, etc., and its target readership. Submitting to a journal outside your research domain often leads to desk rejection, wasting time and effort. Relevance to the journal's audience is another key factor. For instance, a detailed mechanical design study may not suit a general science journal, but could be highly valuable to a specialized engineering publication. Reading previously published papers in a journal provides insight into the topics and style they prefer, helping you tailor your manuscript accordingly. Indexing and visibility are also important. Journals indexed in databases like Scopus, Web of Science, or PubMed are generally more credible and widely read. Publishing in indexed journals increases the discoverability of your work and often enhances its citation potential. Another consideration is the review and publication timeline. Some journals are known for fast decision-making and quicker publication, while others may take several months. If timely publication is essential, such as for funding reports, graduation requirements, or time-sensitive research, authors should review average review durations, which are often mentioned in the journal's author guidelines or on platforms like SciRev. Author guidelines must be followed meticulously. Each journal has specific formatting, word count limits, referencing styles, and file requirements. Adhering to these from the beginning avoids unnecessary delays and signals professionalism to the editors. To assist in journal selection, various tools are available. Platforms like Elsevier Journal Finder, Springer Journal Suggester, and Wiley's Journal Finder allow authors to input their manuscript title and abstract to generate a list of suitable journals. These tools use keyword algorithms and past indexing data to suggest potential matches. The choice between open access, subscription, or hybrid journals also influences selection. Researchers with institutional or grant support may prioritize open access to maximize visibility. Others may opt for traditional journals known for their reputation in a specific domain. Finally, avoid predatory journals. These are outlets that exploit the open access model by charging high fees without proper peer review or editorial processes. Red flags include lack of transparency in fees, unusually fast acceptance timelines, and absence from credible indexing databases. Checking the journal on directories like DOAJ, Directory of Open Access Journals, or consulting Beall's List can help in identifying your trustworthy outlets. A well-prepared manuscript is the foundation of successful publication. It must communicate your research clearly, concisely, and in a format acceptable to the target journal. Most scientific and technical journals follow a conventional structure known as IMRAD: Introduction, Methods, Results, and Discussion. Adhering to this structure enhances readability and aligns with the expectations of reviewers and editors. The title should be specific, informative, and reflect the core contribution of the research. Avoid vague or overly broad titles. The abstract, although placed first, is usually written last. It must summarize the entire paper, problem statement, methods, key results, and conclusions in a compact form, typically within 150 to 250 words. Use precise, active language and include essential keywords that improve discoverability in search engines and databases. The introduction should clearly explain the research problem, its significance, a brief review of relevant literature, and how your study addresses existing gaps. It should build up to a concise statement of your research objectives or hypotheses. The methods section must provide enough detail for replication, including materials used, design, procedures, and data analysis techniques. Transparency in this section is crucial for scientific validity. In the results section, present your findings in a logical order without interpretation. Use tables, figures, and graphs to display data effectively and refer to them appropriately in the text. Ensure all visuals are properly labeled and include captions that describe the content clearly. The discussion interprets the results, compares them with existing literature, explains their implications, and highlights any limitations of the study. The conclusion should summarize the key findings and suggest possible applications, further research directions, or practical implications. Avoid introducing new data or arguments here. Formatting is not just cosmetic, it reflects attention to detail and respect for editorial standards. Follow the journal's specific guidelines for font size, line spacing, margins, section headings, and reference styles. Use reference managers like Mendeley, EndNote, or Zotero to format citations and bibliographies consistently according to the required style, e.g. APA IEEE Chicago. Language clarity is essential. Use precise terminology, active voice, and short sentences. Avoid jargon unless necessary, and define all abbreviations at first use. Proofread thoroughly or consider professional editing, especially if English is not your first language. Before submission, run a final quality check. Ensure all data is accurate, figures are high resolution, and all co-authors have reviewed and approved the manuscript. A carefully prepared manuscript not only increases the likelihood of acceptance, but also reflects your professionalism and ethical considerations and plagiarism. Ethical integrity is fundamental to academic publishing. Every researcher must adhere to principles that uphold honesty, transparency, and accountability. Violating these principles can damage reputations, result in retraction of published work, and disqualify authors from future publishing opportunities. One of the most critical issues in publishing ethics is plagiarism, presenting someone else's work or ideas as your own without proper attribution. Plagiarism can take many forms, including direct copying, paraphrasing without citation, and self-plagiarism, reusing your own previously published work without disclosure. Journals typically screen manuscripts using plagiarism detection software such as Turnitin or Authenticate. Even small instances of copied text can result in immediate rejection. To avoid this, always cite your sources accurately and use quotation marks when repeating someone's exact words. Another core issue is authorship ethics. Only individuals who have made significant contributions to the conception, design, execution, or interpretation of the research should be listed as authors. All listed authors must approve the final version of the manuscript and agree to its submission, including someone who did not contribute, gift authorship, or excluding someone who did. Ghost authorship is unethical and can lead to disputes and retractions. Duplicate submission is also a serious violation. It occurs when a manuscript is submitted to more than one journal at the same time or published in multiple places without appropriate citation or justification. Most journals require that the submitted work is original and not under consideration elsewhere. Always wait for a final decision from one journal before submitting to another. Researchers must also disclose conflicts of interest, whether financial, personal, or professional, that could influence the research or its interpretation. For example, funding from a company that might benefit from the study results should be openly declared. Transparency in this regard allows readers to interpret the findings with full context. Data fabrication and falsification, making up or altering data to achieve desired results, are among the most severe forms of misconduct. Journals expect that all data presented are accurate, original, and verifiable. Authors should keep raw data available in case verification is requested. Ethical approvals are necessary for studies involving human or animal subjects. Most reputable journals require proof of approval from an institutional review board, IRB, or equivalent ethical committee. Informed consent must be obtained from participants, and their privacy must be protected. Upholding ethical standards strengthens the credibility of science and preserves public trust in research. Authors must treat these responsibilities with the same seriousness as their scientific investigations, ensuring that the path to publication is both submission process and honorable. Once your manuscript is complete and ethically sound, the next step is submitting it to your chosen journal. This process must be done carefully to avoid delays or immediate rejection. Most journals use an online submission system such as ScholarOne, Editorial Manager, or a proprietary platform. Familiarizing yourself with the submission interface in advance can streamline the process. Before submission, gather all required documents. These typically include the main manuscript file, figures and tables, often in separate high-resolution formats, a title page with author details, a cover letter, and sometimes supplementary data. The journal's author guidelines will specify the required formats and file types. Pay close attention to details like line numbering, file naming conventions, and whether figures should be embedded in the text or uploaded separately. The cover letter is a crucial but often overlooked component. It introduces your paper to the editor, explains why it fits the journal's scope, and highlights the novelty and significance of your research. Keep the letter concise and professional. Address it to the editor by name if known, and mention any suggested reviewers or conflicts of interest with certain reviewers, if the journal allows. During the submission process, you'll often be asked to enter metadata: title, abstract, keywords, author names, and affiliations. Ensure these match exactly with what's in your manuscript. Some systems also require you to list funding sources, ethical approvals, and data availability statements. Once submitted, the manuscript goes through several stages. First is initial editorial screening, where the editor checks for completeness, formatting, and relevance to the journal. Many manuscripts are rejected at this stage without external review, known as desk rejection. Reasons include poor language, misalignment with journal scope, or failure to follow submission guidelines. If the paper passes this screening, it proceeds to peer review. Most journals use either single-blind, reviewers know author identities but not vice versa, or double-blind, both identities hidden systems. You may be asked to suggest potential reviewers with relevant expertise. Avoid suggesting collaborators or individuals with conflicts of interest. Throughout the review process, you can track the status of your manuscript via the journal's system. Decisions can take weeks to months, depending on reviewer availability and journal workload. Be patient, but if no update is received after a reasonable period, e.g., 8 to 12 weeks, a polite inquiry to the editor is acceptable. Submitting a manuscript is not just a technical task. It reflects your attention to detail, professionalism, and respect for the academic process. Every element you submit contributes to the first impression your work makes on the responding to reviewers. Peer review is the heart of academic publishing. It ensures the validity, quality, and originality of submitted research by subjecting it to evaluation by experts in the field. Understanding how this process works and how to respond effectively to reviewers' feedback is crucial for successful publication. Once a manuscript passes the initial editorial screening, it is sent to 2 or more peer reviewers with relevant expertise. These reviewers assess the paper's scientific rigor, clarity, originality, and significance. They may recommend one of 4 decisions: accept, minor revision, major revision, or reject. In rare cases, a manuscript may be accepted without changes, but most submissions require at least some revision. A minor revision typically involves clarifying text, correcting small errors, or improving figures and references. A major revision suggests that substantial changes are needed, such as reanalysis of data, rewriting sections, or addressing methodological concerns. A rejection may be based on flawed methods, insufficient novelty, or a mismatch with the journal's scope. When you receive reviewers' comments, avoid reacting emotionally. Instead, approach the feedback with a professional mindset. Read all comments carefully, then begin drafting a response to reviewers' document. This should include a detailed, point-by-point reply to each comment. Number your responses to match each reviewer's point, and distinguish your replies clearly. Using formatting like bold or color can help. Be respectful and constructive in your tone. If you agree with a comment, thank the reviewer and describe the changes you made. If you disagree, explain your reasoning with evidence or citations. Never ignore a reviewer's comment, even if you believe it is incorrect. Always address it respectfully. For example, reviewer comment: the statistical method used in the analysis is unclear. Author response: we appreciate the reviewer's observation. We have now added a detailed explanation of the statistical method used in section 3.2, and we have clarified the assumptions underlying the approach. Please see lines 142 to 160 in the revised manuscript. Alongside the response document, submit a revised manuscript with tracked changes or highlights as per the journal's instructions. This helps the editor and reviewers quickly identify what has been modified. Sometimes, reviewers may contradict each other. In such cases, use your judgment and, if necessary, explain to the editor how you resolve the conflict. Editors often appreciate authors who can thoughtfully balance different perspectives while maintaining scientific integrity. A well-prepared revision shows your commitment to the quality of your work. Even if the process feels demanding, embracing peer review as a collaboration rather than a confrontation significantly increases your chances of final acceptance, rejection, and resubmission strategies. After responding to peer reviews and submitting your revised manuscript, the editorial team evaluates your changes and may send the paper for another round of reviews. Eventually, a final decision is made: acceptance, rejection, or a request for further revision. Each outcome demands a strategic and professional response from the author. Acceptance is the outcome every author hopes for. If your manuscript is accepted, you'll usually receive a formal acceptance letter and information on the next steps. These typically include final formatting, signing a publication agreement, and choosing licensing options, especially for open access. You may also be asked to review proofs, typeset versions of your article, for any last corrections before publication. Take this stage seriously, checking for typographical or layout errors, as this is your last opportunity to make changes. When your paper is rejected, it can be discouraging, but it's a common part of the academic process. Rejections can occur at any stage: desk rejection, after peer review, or even post-revision. The key is to review the editor's and reviewers' comments objectively. Ask yourself whether the criticisms point to fundamental flaws or issues that can be resolved. If the feedback is constructive, use it to improve your manuscript for submission to another journal. Never resubmit the same manuscript to another journal without revision. Instead, make the necessary improvements, adjust the format to fit the new journal's guidelines, and prepare a new cover letter. Many successful publications are the result of multiple rejections, followed by thoughtful revisions and resubmissions. In some cases, you may choose to appeal a rejection, especially if you believe the decision was based on a misunderstanding or procedural error. Most journals have a formal appeals process. Your appeal should be respectful, well-reasoned, and supported with evidence. However, be cautious. Appeals rarely succeed unless you can clearly demonstrate an error or bias in the review process. When preparing for resubmission to another journal, consider adjusting the title, abstract, and introduction to better align with the new journal's scope and readership. Reframe your research contribution if necessary, and double-check that all previous weaknesses have been addressed. If previous reviewers provided helpful comments, you can mention, without identifying the journal, that the manuscript has been revised in light of prior expert feedback. Ultimately, publishing is not just about presenting findings. It's about persistence, learning from criticism, and refining your work to meet the highest scholarly standards. Every rejection brings a new opportunity to grow and improve, and every resubmission brings you one step publication responsibilities and research visibility. Getting a paper published is a major milestone, but the journey doesn't end there. As a published author, you carry certain responsibilities and have opportunities to enhance your research visibility, impact, and academic reputation. One key post-publication responsibility is addressing corrections or errors. If you or others identify mistakes in your published work, ranging from minor typographical errors to significant data issues, you should inform the journal promptly. Minor corrections may be issued as an erratum or corrigendum, while more serious issues could lead to a retraction. Transparency in handling errors is essential to maintaining trust in the scientific community. Another responsibility is responding to reader queries or follow-up discussions. Sometimes readers may reach out with questions, critiques, or requests for clarification. Engaging respectfully with these inquiries not only supports academic dialogue, but also strengthens your credibility as a researcher. To maximize the visibility and impact of your research, you should actively promote your published work. Start by sharing the publication through your academic and professional networks, LinkedIn, ResearchGate, Google Scholar, institutional repositories, or your personal website. If your article is open access, it's easier to distribute freely, but even paywalled articles can be shared in summary form or via preprint repositories, depending on the publisher's policy. Consider creating a lay summary or infographic of your work for social media. These simplified, visually appealing formats can help non-specialist audiences understand your findings, increasing broader impact. You might also write a short blog post or record a brief video explaining your research. Engage with your peers by presenting the paper at conferences or workshops. This helps establish you as a domain expert and facilitates collaboration. It can also lead to invitations for joint research, peer reviewing, or editorial positions. Keep an eye on how your work is being cited. Tools like Google Scholar, Scopus, or Web of Science track citations and show how your research is influencing the field. Monitoring these metrics helps you understand the reach and relevance of your work and can be valuable when applying for funding, promotions, or academic positions. Lastly, be open to building upon your own work. A single publication can lead to follow-up studies, new methodologies, or practical applications. Leverage your published research as a platform for further inquiry, helping you grow as a thought leader in your area of study. Publishing is not a one-time event, but a continuous process of contribution, interaction, and refinement. By taking post-publication responsibilities seriously and promoting your work effectively, you increase your influence and contribute meaningfully journal metrics, to the advancement indexing, and author impact. Understanding how academic work is measured and discovered is essential for researchers aiming to build a strong publishing profile. After your paper is published, its value and visibility are often assessed through various journal metrics, indexing systems, and author-level indicators. These tools not only reflect academic influence, but also guide funding decisions, hiring, and promotions. A widely used metric is the impact factor, IF, calculated by Clarivate's journal citation reports. It represents the average number of citations received in a year by papers published in that journal during the previous 2 years. For example, an impact factor of 5 means on average each paper was cited 5 times. High impact factor journals are generally considered prestigious, though the metric has limitations and should not be the sole indicator of quality. Other journal metrics include H5 Index, used by Google Scholar, measures productivity and citation impact over the last 5 years. Siamago Journal Rank, SJR, accounts for both the number of citations and the prestige of citing journals. Eigen Factor Score considers the network of journal citations, giving weight to where citations come from. Indexing determines where your research can be discovered. Top databases like Scopus, Web of Science, and PubMed index reputable journals and allow scholars worldwide to find your work. If your paper is indexed in these databases, it gains more visibility and citation potential. Always check if a journal is indexed in recognized databases before submitting your manuscript. In recent years, open access repositories and preprint servers like Arxiv or SSRN have gained popularity for rapidly sharing findings. Although preprints are not peer-reviewed, they can increase exposure and allow for early feedback. Some journals accept manuscripts that were previously uploaded as preprints, but policies vary. Beyond journal-level metrics, author impact metrics assess an individual's academic influence. Common measures include H-index, the largest number H such that the researcher has H papers with at least H citations each. It reflects both productivity and citation impact. I-10 index, used by Google Scholar, counts how many of a researcher's papers have received at least 10 citations. Altmetrics track online attention via social media, news articles, blogs, and other digital platforms. These complement traditional citations and are especially useful for gauging public engagement. Maintaining up-to-date profiles on platforms like ORCID, Google Scholar, ResearchGate, and Publons can help track your metrics and make your work discoverable. ORCID in particular is often required by journals and funding bodies for uniquely identifying authors. By understanding and leveraging these metrics and indexing systems, you can strategically plan your publication efforts, assess your research's reach, and make data-informed decisions about future publishing and writing an effective cover letter. A well-crafted cover letter is your first opportunity to make a positive impression on the journal editor. While it may seem like a formality, the cover letter plays a crucial role in summarizing the significance of your research and explaining why your manuscript is a good fit for the journal. Begin your cover letter by addressing the editor by name if known. This personal touch shows you have researched the journal and its editorial team. If you do not know the editor's name, a polite salutation such as "Dear Editor" is acceptable. Clearly state the title of your manuscript and the type of article you are submitting, e.g., original research, review, case study. Briefly explain the scope and objectives of your study, highlighting its novelty and importance in the field. Editors receive many submissions, so emphasizing what sets your work apart helps grab their attention. Explain why you have chosen this particular journal. Demonstrate your understanding of the journal's audience and how your research aligns with its focus and scope. This reassures the editor that your manuscript is relevant and valuable to their readership. If applicable, mention any prior communications with the editorial office or if the manuscript is a follow-up to previously published work. Also, disclose any potential conflicts of interest or funding sources, as transparency at this stage prevents issues later. Some journals invite authors to suggest potential reviewers or exclude certain reviewers due to conflicts of interest. If you do so, provide names, affiliations, and email addresses, along with a brief rationale for each suggestion. Keep the letter concise, typically no longer than 1 page. Use professional and courteous language, avoiding exaggeration or overly technical jargon. Remember, the cover letter is a formal business communication that complements your manuscript. Before submitting, carefully proofread the cover letter to ensure it is free from errors and clearly conveys your message. A polished cover letter reflects your professionalism and respect for the editor's time. In summary, an effective cover letter is clear, focused, and tailored to the journal. It should briefly summarize your study's importance, confirm the manuscript's fit with the journal, and provide any necessary disclosures. Investing effort in this document can enhance the chances of your paper moving smoothly through the considerations in journal publishing. Maintaining ethical standards is fundamental in academic publishing to ensure trust, credibility, and integrity in research. As an author, you must be aware of key ethical principles and responsibilities throughout the publication process. Originality and plagiarism. Your manuscript must present original work. Avoid copying text, ideas, data, or graphics from others without proper citation. Using plagiarism detection tools before submission can help ensure your work is free of unintentional overlaps. Self-plagiarism. Reusing your previously published text without citation is also unethical. Authorship and contribution. Only include individuals who have made a significant intellectual contribution to the research and manuscript preparation. All authors should approve the final version and agree to be accountable for the work. Avoid guest authorship, listing non-contributors, or ghost authorship, excluding contributors. Data integrity. Report data honestly without fabrication, falsification, or selective reporting. Keep detailed records of your experiments and analyses to support reproducibility. If errors are discovered post-publication, notify the journal promptly. Conflict of interest. Disclose any financial, personal, or professional relationships that could influence your research or its interpretation. Transparency helps readers evaluate potential biases. Ethical approval and consent. Research involving humans, animals, or sensitive data typically requires approval from an ethical review board. Clearly state this approval and confirm informed consent was obtained when applicable. Duplicate and redundant publication. Submitting the same manuscript to multiple journals simultaneously or publishing substantially overlapping content without disclosure is unethical and can lead to rejection or retraction. Respect for intellectual property. Obtain permission for copyrighted materials like images or large data excerpts. Peer review integrity. Authors should respect the confidentiality of the peer review process and avoid attempts to manipulate reviewer selection or feedback. Adhering to ethical guidelines protects your reputation and advances scientific knowledge responsibly. Many journals follow standards set by organizations like the Committee on Publication Ethics, COP, and being familiar with these guidelines will prepare you to handle ethical challenges professionally. By committing to ethical publishing, you contribute to a trustworthy scholarly community and ensure your work stands up to rigorous selecting the right journal for your manuscript. Choosing the appropriate journal for your research is a critical step that can significantly influence the chances of acceptance, visibility, and impact of your work. Careful journal selection saves time and effort by targeting the audience most interested in your findings. Start by identifying journals that publish articles in your specific research area. Review the aims and scope sections on journal websites to ensure your topic aligns well. Consider the journal's readership, whether it targets specialists, interdisciplinary audiences, or practitioners in the field. Assess the journal's reputation and quality indicators, such as impact factor, indexing status, and peer review rigor. Publishing in well-recognized journals may boost your academic profile, but also consider newer or specialized journals that might better fit niche topics or emerging fields. Open access journals offer wider readership since articles are freely available, but some charge publication fees, article processing charges, or APCs. Check if your institution or funding agency supports these fees. Conversely, traditional subscription journals may have no fees but restrict access behind paywalls. Examine recent published articles to gauge the typical style, length, and complexity expected. Tailor your manuscript accordingly to meet the journal standards. Consider the journal's turnaround time for peer review and publication, especially if you need rapid dissemination. Some journals provide average timelines on their websites. Also, verify the journal's editorial policies regarding ethical standards, data sharing, and preprints, ensuring they match your research and publication practices. Avoid predatory journals that lack rigorous peer review, charge exorbitant fees, and have misleading metrics. Use trusted resources like the Directory of Open Access Journals, DOAJ, and consult experienced colleagues or mentors when in doubt. In summary, selecting the right journal involves balancing scope alignment, quality, accessibility, cost, and publication speed. Thoughtful selection improves your manuscript's chances of acceptance and maximizes its impact. Essential practical tips for successful journal publication. Proper manuscript formatting is essential before submission. Follow the target journal's author guidelines precisely. These usually specify font type and size, line spacing, margin widths, section headings, figure and table formats, citation style, and word limits. Submitting a correctly formatted manuscript demonstrates professionalism and can prevent delays. Use the journal's template if available, and convert your final document to PDF only if required. Ensure all supplementary materials are clearly labeled and included. During submission, upload all required files, including the manuscript, cover letter, figures, tables, and any required ethical approval documents. Carefully enter metadata such as author details, abstract, keywords, and suggested reviewers. Review all inputs before final submission to avoid technical issues. When you receive reviewer comments, read them carefully and objectively. Even critical feedback is an opportunity to improve your paper. Prepare a detailed response letter addressing each point systematically. Indicate the changes made and justify if you decide not to implement a suggestion. Maintain a polite and professional tone, acknowledging reviewers' efforts. Incorporate revisions thoughtfully and submit the revised manuscript with your response letter. Understanding open access OA publishing models is important. OA journals provide free access to articles, increasing readership and citations. Common models include Gold OA, article is immediately open, usually with an article processing charge, APC. Green OA, authors self-archive a version of the manuscript in a repository, often after an embargo period. Hybrid OA, subscription journals offer an OA option for individual articles with an APC. Check if your institution or funder supports APCs. Some journals offer waivers for researchers from low-income countries. Use ref management tools like EndNote, Mendeley, or Zotero to organize citations efficiently. These tools help you insert citations and bibliographies automatically in the correct journal style, saving time and reducing errors. To enhance research impact, share your published work on social media platforms such as Twitter, LinkedIn, and ResearchGate. Engage with relevant academic groups and online communities. Creating accessible summaries, videos, or infographics can broaden your audience beyond specialists. Attend conferences and webinars to network and discuss your research. Collaborations and visibility increase citations and future opportunities. Be aware of copyright and licensing. Understand the terms under which you publish, whether you transfer copyright to the publisher or retain it under licenses like Creative Commons. Open access articles often use CC licenses allowing reuse with attribution. Avoid infringing on copyrighted material by securing permissions for figures or large text excerpts. Writing in clear and concise scientific English enhances readability. Use simple language, active voice, and short sentences. Avoid jargon where possible, and define necessary technical terms. Organize ideas logically with clear paragraph transitions. Proofread or seek professional editing to eliminate grammatical errors and improve flow. Finally, avoid common pitfalls such as submitting to inappropriate journals, ignoring ethical standards, or rushing through manuscript preparation. Inadequate literature review, unclear hypotheses, poor data presentation, and neglecting reviewer feedback are frequent causes of rejection. Plan your research and writing carefully, seek mentorship, and be patient with the publication process. Mastering these practical aspects increases your chances of successful publication and helps you build a successful journal publication requires a combination of rigorous research, clear communication, ethical integrity, and strategic planning. From selecting the right journal and preparing a well-structured manuscript to responding thoughtfully to reviewers and promoting your work post-publication, each step plays a vital role in advancing your academic career. Understanding journal metrics, navigating ethical considerations, and leveraging tools like reference managers and social media further enhance your visibility and impact. By following best practices and avoiding common pitfalls, you contribute valuable knowledge to your field and build a strong foundation for future research endeavors. Consistency, patience, and professionalism are key to thriving in the dynamic world of academic publishing.